2 of swatching on my inks. And I apparently can't spell. Let's try that again. There we go. And welcome to part 2 of swatching on my inks. So, yesterday we did all the Ferris wheel press inks, and they look super amazing now that they're fully dry. There's a little bit of warping. I do see what they were talking about, like they're a little bit wrinkly, but I think as I fill this up with more cards, like it gets heavier, they'll be pushed down enough that it won't really matter. So I don't have that many other inks, and you'll notice that even though I said I wasn't swatching samples, I do have a sample of this black ink out, purely because I have this sample vial and 2 more that I want to finish before I open the bottle. So I'm not going to open the bottle. I'm going to hopefully finish up this sample vial in this video, and then I will only have 2 samples of it left, and then I get to open my new bottle of it. But I have 5 inks for part 2. Really, the majority of my inks are Ferris wheel press. The Pannonia was the Scriptus 2023 ink, which I only got because it glows under black light, and I think that's really cool. We have Celadon Cat, which I got for my grandfather's Schaefer snorkel, because the diamine inks are considered to be some of the safest inks for those pens. And the same with Earl Grey, though I've seen a couple other grays that I potentially like more. I think Earl Grey is too dark for the other ink colors I use. It's too close to black. So I might be looking at a lighter gray potentially. We'll see. I need some more gray suggestions. For now though, I'm gonna grab it a card, and I think I'm gonna start with Celadon Cat because it's the lightest. And I'm going to end with the black because it'll just stain everything. So, switching back to the matte cup, because these 3 are all matte. The only shimmer that we're looking at today is the Pannonia. I believe Celadon Cat was one of the Reddit inks that Diamine has done. I think they've either done 3 or 4. And I have 2 of them. I do really like Celadon Cat. I've had it in a pen this month because I figured that before I inked up a vintage pen with it, I should figure out if I actually liked the color or not. And I do. So it will definitely be going in a pen. Though I keep spelling Celadon wrong. It's Celadon Cat. It's a very pretty sort of blue-green, which I think will look absolutely great in, it is right here. Here's the Schaefer. This is the pen it's going to be going in. So it's not incredibly matchy, but I think it's close enough. And I don't know that I'll find something like this exact blue-gray. And so I'd rather pick a color that I know I'm going to use. I am still too scared to ink up the Schaefer though. I have 2 pens in my collection that I'm absolutely terrified to ink. One of them is the Schaefer. I will pull out, oh, it's right here. When we swatch the ink that I've bought to go in the other pen, I'll show it as well. Because I think it's important to like show the pens that like theoretically Like, there is no reason I should be as afraid as I am to ink it up. A pen technician has looked it over, like, it's fine, there are no issues with it, it inks fine. Has told me that I should just use it. Has told me that in October, and I still can't get over it, just like using it. So for now, it's going back in its case with its pencil that also still has the eraser. I love the pencil. It's great. I love this set. I am too afraid to ink it though. Which is funny, like people talk about, I think it's mostly because it's a family pen and there's more pressure there. This is a Royales by Diamine. I only got it because it came in the set with Earl Grey and Sell It on Cat on Amazon. I don't particularly like it. I will probably, I'll probably end up listing it in, there's a like watercolor art supply swap group on Facebook. It'll probably get listed in there because it's just not a color I use even in art pieces. I find that I'm much more picky about my ink colors than I am about watercolors, which is really funny. My watercolor palette has literally hundreds of colors in it, and my ink palette has far, far less, and I'm far pickier about ink colors. Like, if they're not absolutely right, I don't love them. And then we have Earl Grey, which I absolutely love. But I think it's too dark for the pen. I've been trialing it this month, and it feels too dark for the rest of the color palette I use, which is much more like pastel-y muted colors. And so it seems too dark. It seems too close to a black. Though it's swatching out very light here. I don't have my day planner to show you what it actually looks like when you write with it. Of course, I didn't actually bring down fountain pens either. There we go. I would say it's swatching much more pink on this paper than it normally does. It's normally a pretty dark color. Earl Grey. So where's my normal color palette? My normal color palette includes Dusk and Bloom and Madame Mulberry, and so like it doesn't not go, it's just a lot darker. And so I think I still want a gray because this is the pen that lives in its own padded rickshaw sleeve. It is a Waterman 555 and I love it. It's so pretty. It's got their Made in Canada gold nib. Is it actually, oh yeah, it is an ideal nib. I've had somebody look it over recently. It's got a lever filler. Hello. and it's great. I'm too scared to ink it. It's been in my family since it probably came out, I think in 1945 or 47 they were released. And so it's now part of my collection, but it hasn't been inked other than in October when somebody tested it to make sure it held ink, since the 70s. And I'm terrified to ink it. I love it. I think it's such a cool piece of history. I love that it's missing the clip, because it was his daily use pen and he just actually used it. I'm terrified to ink it. And I think I bought Earl Grey to go into it, and I think Earl Grey is too dark. So I think I need to find something lighter while still being considered safe for vintage pens. So, quest is on for something to go into it. Let's put away the mulberry. So, I'm open to gray ink suggestions. So, it has, good question. I have 2 vintage pens. It uses a system that's not used in pens anymore called a lever filler. And so this little lever flips up and compresses an ink sac that's inside, sort of like a Parker. Where's a Parker? Here's a Parker. I got this Parker. It was a Valentine's Day gift, but it also sort of became my 1,000 subscriber gift from my parents. You can see, like, this pen has an ink sac. And this pen, the ink sac is inside and gets compressed by this lever when you flip it open. And so normally those ink sacs need to be replaced, and they're quite difficult because this pen is a material called celluloid, which they don't really make pens out of anymore. It's really expensive. There's a great video on YouTube about celluloid. But if you look, like, there isn't really a way to unscrew this, because they were sealed with epoxy. And so to get them apart, you need to melt the epoxy. The problem is celluloid is a plastic. And so when you go to melt the epoxy, you can also melt the celluloid. So it wasn't something I was going to mess around with myself. I got it professionally looked at by somebody that was recommended to me by the only people that deal with Waterman pens in Canada, and he was absolutely shocked that it was in as good shape as it was and didn't actually need the sac replaced. It holds water. And he said, just use it. And then couldn't believe that it had sat on my grandmother's desk in a mug since 1970 something, but because it wasn't stored in sunlight, the celluloid also didn't break down. Because if celluloid is exposed to sunlight, celluloid starts to break down. Celluloid is also highly combustible. And so this pen lives in its own little sleeve. So the sleeve is got like microfiber on the inside so that it stays safe. And I absolutely love the Waterman. Terrified to ink it. Same with the pen I showed at the beginning, which I will show again after I swatch these last 2 inks. Both of them are family pens. Both of them are fantastic pens. Like, the nibs are stunning on them. I'm just terrified to ink them. So there's your crash course in celluloid. It's a super cool material. There are a couple companies that still make celluloid pens, but they're really expensive. I think, is it Montegrappa still makes a celluloid pen? And it's like called the Dragon or something, and it's super cool, but it is super expensive. It's one of Mom's favorite pens. So this is my Sailor waterproof ink that I've actually got a bottle of, but I want to finish off this sample. because I am tired of having this sample around. So this is the ink that I use in all my videos where I am using a black ink from a fountain pen. This is the ink. It is by far my favorite black waterproof ink, and it is really hard to find. And this is why I use a desk protector, because it has already stained my desk. And this vial is so empty that I can't actually get ink out of it. So I'm going with what's in the lid. K, I, W, A, G, U, R, O. Favorite black ink. It does dry very matte, but for the work I do, I really like that. I know some people don't. I like its really matte finish, where it's, I guess it's not really matte, like it dries sort of like charcoal does, where it's got like that slightly reflective surface, but it's pretty matte. And then we have something that's really fun. And I will actually grab the blacklight flashlight as well. Because what's the point of having a light, an ink that's UV reactive if you're not going to use a black light with it? There is none, in my opinion. So this is the last ink I have in a bottle that is not, yeah, no, this is the last ink I have in a bottle that's not Ferris wheel pressed, because we did all the Ferris wheel press inks yesterday. So that is all of the shimmer powder in this. This was the Scriptus ink. I was expecting it to be a 15 ml or a 30 ml bottle. I was expecting like this size. It is a 60 ml bottle. I don't think I'll ever make it through 60 mls of this ink, but it is super fun. Shaking it up really hard. This is, what's it called? Lights of Niagara. So, there we go. And that's why this ink is so cool. I think we have to wait for the letters to dry before they'll glow. But this ink is so cool because it does glow under black light. I would absolutely love like a clear ink that glowed under black light that I could use on black paper for pieces. Oh, that would be really fun. I wonder if anyone makes one. I am glad you learned something new. And thank you for hanging out for a little bit. The letters are still drying. I will say that much like, what was it, Cabernet on the Lake? Yeah, it is feathering more than some of the other colors are. Like some of the other colors aren't feathering at all and some of them just are. And so there's our black. And there are the 3 diamond colors. Celadon Cat, Aurora Borealis. So there are all our colors. Yeah, it's definitely feathering a lot compared to everything else. I guess Earl Grey feathered a little bit, but nothing like what's going on with Lights of Niagara. It's interesting. The black didn't feather at all. So we are going to need the D section. So I decided that I'm putting these in alphabetically by brand, not sorting them by color, because my swatch ring is sorted by color, which of course I also didn't bring that down, because that would be practical. So let's pop these ones in. D goes in the S section. And once Lights of Niagara dries, because it's still wet, it will go in the P section. There's our P section. It is still wet. I really like this so far though. And there's so many empty cards. I still can't believe I only paid $1.50 for this. I am considering buying Coloring Does tabs. And I am considering getting coloring tabs, potentially, just to help divide, so that I can put, where did I dump them? My pen swatches, like I can swatch out my pens and put them in here as well. And just sort them by like type, and so they're like blank on the top, and so be able to sort them by like fine, medium, extra fine, all that fun stuff. Because I think that would be helpful. And then I can also get rid of these cards. So I'm thinking about that. What's this one? Perfect clarity for reading, longer card life, ideal for color coding. Oh, and then it's got the instructions for how to order them. Use of transparent card protectors will reduce the card capacity of your card filer. Clearly. Okay, so that feathered badly, I'd say. But the glow, even the paper glows. I will say, like the old paper looks really cool compared to the new stuff. So that's the paper I tend to use, but like the old stuff is all like speckly and super cool. I do like that ink. Do I have any other inks that glow under black light? I guess it's already out. Nope. Celadon Cat like reflects it, but no, neither does Earl Grey. Nope. I think the Fluttering Heart might, actually. I would say the Fluttering Heart like reflects it the most. Nope. Nope. Madame Mulberry doesn't look awful. Not at all. Not at all. It would have been cool if Poison Envy did. There's so many other things going on in it, though. I don't know that it's actually possible. Nope. I will say I really like the look of the paper under black light. Nope. Oh, that one looks interesting under black light. Like it's got the speckly texture, but I can't tell if that's just the paper shining through or it's actually, and then the black just absorbs everything. All right, so let's pop P. There we go. I'm probably going to take some of the blank cards out of here so that it's just easier to flip through things. It's a bit hard right now. And I think that'll make it easier. So thanks for watching. This was fun. And officially all of my ink bottles are swatched. So I haven't done any of my sample vials, but I'm not sure that I'm gonna swatch them in here. I haven't decided yet. So let me know how you swatched your inks or how you swatch your other art supplies. And thanks for watching.